The jungle was never truly silent, yet there was an unnatural stillness that had settled over this part of the rainforest. A hush that whispered of something unseen, lurking just beyond the reach of human understanding. Birds refused to sing, the chittering of insects was absent, and even the rustling of leaves seemed hesitant, as if the jungle itself held its breath. It was this eerie quiet that had given rise to the legend, the tale of the jungle's silent curse. Among those who had dared to venture into its depths, few had returned, and those who did spoke in hushed, broken voices, their eyes shadowed with an unshakable fear. The local tribes spoke of an ancient power, something beyond human reckoning that had woven itself into the very fabric of the jungle. A wrong committed long ago had brought the wrath of unseen forces, and now, the jungle would never forgive nor forget. Elias Mercer did not believe in curses. As an experienced explorer and historian, he had spent his life unraveling the mysteries of forgotten civilizations, separating truth from myth with the precision of a scholar. Yet, standing on the fringes of this untamed wilderness, a part of him, the part that had survived too many close calls, whispered for him to turn back. But the lure was too great. Deep in the heart of the jungle lay an abandoned temple, its existence confirmed only through fragments of decayed manuscripts and the desperate ramblings of a lone survivor. If the accounts were true, then within its crumbling walls rested the key to one of history's greatest mysteries, a civilization erased, its legacy buried beneath layers of vines and soil. Elias adjusted the straps of his backpack and exchanged glances with his team. Amelia, his closest companion and an expert linguist, offered him a reassuring nod, her hazel eyes bright with curiosity. Jace, the rugged survivalist, checked his machete and gear, his usual skepticism evident in the crease of his brow. Beside him, Tarek, a skilled photographer, adjusted his camera, eager to capture whatever they found. The four of them had traversed the world together, and despite the unshakable aura of dread clinging to the air, none of them hesitated. Their journey into the jungle was slow, every step muffled by the thick undergrowth. The deeper they went, the more they felt the silence pressing in on them. No animal calls, no distant roars, only the weight of unseen eyes watching from the shadows. They reached the first marker by dusk, a stone obelisk partially buried beneath creeping ivy. Elias brushed away the leaves, revealing inscriptions in a script long forgotten. Amelia traced the carvings with her fingers, her breath catching. "It's a warning," she murmured. "A plea, maybe," Jace scoffed. Typical. Ancient civilizations loved their cryptic messages. But Tarek's camera clicked, capturing the eerie beauty of the moment, the light of their lanterns casting long shadows across the jungle floor. That night, they camped in a small clearing, their fire the only source of warmth against the creeping cold that defied the jungle's usual humidity. It was then that they heard it, a whisper, threading through the silence like a breath against the nape of the neck. Elias stiffened. The whisper was not in a language he understood, yet it carried a weight, a presence that brushed against his very soul. Amelia's eyes darted to his, confirming that she had heard it too. Jace gripped his machete, scanning the darkness. Tarek's fingers trembled on the shutter button of his camera, though he dared not take a picture. Then, just as suddenly as it had come, the whisper was gone. Sleep eluded them that night. The silence pressed harder, as if waiting, watching, judging. By morning, they pushed forward, following the faint trail outlined in the manuscripts Elias had studied. As they neared their destination, the jungle's resistance increased. Vines seemed to shift, barring their path, roots twisted to catch their footing, and an overwhelming sense of being unwelcome settled in their chests. And then, finally, they saw it. The temple loomed before them, half consumed by nature, but still imposing. Its walls, carved with elaborate designs, stood defiant against time, though cracks and weathering betrayed its age. The massive stone doors were slightly ajar, as if inviting them in, or warning them to stay out. Elias stepped forward, placing his palm against the cold stone. An immediate pulse, almost like a heartbeat, thrummed beneath his fingers. He swallowed hard. "We go together," Amelia said, her voice barely above a whisper. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of dust and forgotten history. The flickering beams of their flashlights illuminated murals depicting a civilization both magnificent and doomed. Figures bowed before an unseen force, their faces carved with expressions of reverence and terror. In the center of the chamber, an altar stood, its surface marked with deep grooves as though something had been violently taken or given. Tarek moved to capture the moment, but before he could, a gust of air swept through the temple, snuffing out their lights for the briefest moment. And in that darkness, they were not alone. The whispers returned, louder now, pressing into their minds, weaving through their thoughts. Shadows flickered along the walls, figures caught between existence and oblivion. The curse was not just a legend. It was alive, aware, and it had been waiting. Jace stumbled back, his voice breaking. "We shouldn't be here." Amelia clutched Elias's arm, her breath shaking. "Elias, the inscriptions, they're not just warnings." He turned to her, his pulse roaring in his ears. "Their instructions?" The silence shattered. The jungle's wrath awoke, and the temple trembled with the weight of something far older than humanity. The explorers had found what they sought, but they had never considered the cost. And now, the jungle demanded its price.